All right, I'm showing 102, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Thanks everyone for being on this afternoon. Just at the top, this call is being recorded, so the recording will be shared out later on, so you can share this with your colleagues, and so that folks who maybe just weren't able to make this lunch and learn today can catch up. This is our second lunch and learn in advance of next week's symposium at Sinclair. The purpose this week is to give an overview, not too deep in the weeds, but to give folks kind of a preview of the Automation and Robotics curriculum at Lorain County Community College. One of the two kind of clusters of curriculum that's up for replication under the Ohio TechNet Defense Industrial Base STEM Consortium funding. So last week's call was focused on Sinclair's digital transformation curriculum. And then this week we're just covering the automation robotics. As we're going through, feel free to put questions in the chat. We'll have time for questions at the end as well, so don't be shy. I will answer the best I can. I also have my colleague Amy Howell on the call. She's a program developer working with our automation programs and faculty. She's much better equipped to answer questions than I am, so just feel free to shout them out. Meredith shared these on the call last week, but for anyone who wasn't on that call, and they're just good figures to include, so I won't dwell on these too long. These figures are from Rockwell Automation's 8th annual State of Smart Manufacturing report. The big takeaway here is about half of manufacturers are expecting to grow their employment as a result of technology adoption. About 90% expect to grow. A relatively small number are saying they're going to actually need to hire fewer workers as a result of adopting technology. So I think, as everyone on this call knows, as manufacturing adopts more Industry 4.0 technology, it really is transformative. But the sort of headline grabbing stories that you see about robots stealing jobs are really just not reflective of what happens on the ground. Something I wanted to highlight here, the sort of bar graph on the far right there. When I look at this, some of the big obstacles that manufacturers see, in the near future, obviously training current employees on updated processes and technology, and then second is change management at manufacturing firms. I could just speak for Lorain. So we try to address this through extensive industry outreach and engagement. We bring in a lot of incumbent workers for training and upskilling at the college, as all of us do. Something that we're doing around the change management piece. So we, again, through industry outreach and engagement, we work with our county and other regional industry partnerships, as well as partners in economic development like Manufacturing Works, who folks up here in Northeast Ohio will know. We're actually currently working with Manufacturing Works to take a number of companies through the SESME Smart Manufacturing Innovation Institute. They have a smart manufacturing roadmap. It's really all about that change management and culture at manufacturers adopting new technologies. So there's a number of ways to address these problems. Those are some examples of what we're doing at Lorain. And I'll be happy to speak more to that next week. I'm getting some talking points pulled together. So I probably don't need to stress this too much for this particular group of folks. I have the advantage of maybe not needing to explain to quite the same extent what automation robotics is. As Meredith and Ryan explained digital thread last week, it's a bit more familiar. There are those who would argue that automation robotics is really rooted in Industry 3.0, and Industry 4.0 is sort of like the next phase of what you can do with automation. But those of us in workforce and communication all have, I think, at least a base understanding of this technology, its applications, and the roles that it plays in the manufacturing workplace and economy. So, but also just to emphasize, when we're talking about Industry 4.0 technology adoption in manufacturing, you're rarely talking about just one technology, right? So automation increases productivity by removing the need for humans to perform 4D tasks. I heard 3D tasks, but apparently they added a fourth one. So that's dull, dirty, dangerous, and dear work. It alleviates labor shortages and frees up workers for tasks more valuable than those that can be completed by machines. So rather than robots stealing jobs, robots kind of change jobs. It gives people the opportunity to do different types of work than maybe they would otherwise need to. And then finally, to the point about adopting multiple technologies, automation and robotics integrated with AI, vision, other sensors, industrial Internet of Things, digital twin, digital thread, all of these things working together is what underpins modern smart manufacturing. So it really kind of spans the whole sector. As I was putting together this slide deck, I came across a couple of infographics from AGREE, which is the Association for Advancing Automation. I couldn't really do a better job than they did, so I've shamelessly copied and pasted them into my presentation. These are just some examples of automation tasks. Obviously, we know, machining, assembly, picking and placing, some of these core tasks that you see automation robotics used in manufacturing, as well as inspection and defect analysis, again, in conjunction with vision and sensors, order fulfillment, sorting. We see more and more applications of robotics outside of manufacturing, like in warehousing and logistics. So, more sectors of the economy are really catching on to the automation of robotics. And then these are just a few industries that are using automation to manufacturing.
From your savings to your checking?
Related sectors like aerospace and defense. Something that I really enjoy seeing is there's a huge number of videos out there of sort of smart automated agricultural implements. So agriculture is adopting more automation robotics technology, construction, consumer goods, life sciences, and healthcare. I already mentioned warehousing and logistics. So you can see where this technology is being more broadly adopted and where it's really relevant. I think we hear from employers, and Amy can speak to this better than I can. We also hear from employers that maybe they're not looking specifically for an automation technician, but they're looking for a production worker or an employee for their manufacturing firm who has the skills in automation, who knows how to use that technology, but maybe their role isn't as a dedicated automation technician. So these skills and competencies are in demand, and they're more broadly in demand outside of just robotics integrators or operators, for instance. Some of you may already be familiar with this document, but this is an automation robotics career pathway that was co-developed by Ohio TechNet and OMA several years ago through a Department of Labor TACT grant, I believe. So this pathway breaks out occupations by salary or wage. The required skills and competencies are all listed there, as well as the required level of education or credential. So this roadmap, along with partnerships and validation organizations like the ARM Institute, this helps inform the design of our certificates and degree programs and pathways. So if you're not familiar with this, this is available. Ohio TechNet has a Skills Common page. This is listed on there. I believe this may also be on the Making Ohio website. It's out there, it's around. So it's a good resource to familiarize yourself with. Okay, so now to kind of the meat of the presentation. This is a concise breakdown of the automation, engineering, technology career pathways at Lorain County Community College. So we have the sort of projected average salary that a student could expect to earn depending on which program they complete, which credential they earn. We have a robotics operator fast track certificate that's seven credits, a short-term technical certificate in maintenance technician where students earn a FANUC credential. We have 2 associate's degrees one in system specialist, one in maintenance and repair. Both of our associate's degrees are endorsed by the ARM Institute as of, I think, July or August. Am I right, Amy?
August, yes.
August, okay. So those two associate's degrees are ARM endorsed. And then our newest program, which launched in fall of 2022, is the Smart Industrial Automated Systems Engineering Technology Bachelor of Applied Science, which for obvious reasons, everybody just calls the Smart BAS. So that is the second bachelor's degree that Lorain County Community College is approved to offer. We're still relatively early on in offering that program. But from the short-term certificate onward, these programs all have incorporated earn and learn, internship, or work-based learning opportunities. And I'll invite Amy to speak more to that since she does more of that on the ground work.
Sure. Do you want to go to the next slide? So as Peter talked about, we do have our fast track certificate, our robotics operator, and that is really to that beginner. I'm learning to program a robot, operate a robot, as well as learning some technical problem solving skills. That is 7 credits, and it stacks directly into our short-term certificate in maintenance techniship. And what that maintenance technician is it is 26 credit hours, so spread out over 2 semesters, where we're taking those skills that we've learned in the robotics operator and adding to them. So we're adding some more skills when it comes to advanced robotics. We're also starting to work with some PLCs, as well as your typical kind of maintenance skills in fluid power and mechanical systems. So what we're trying to do is build that entry-level maintenance technician that can handle both the PLC side as well as the robotics side. That then stacks into both of our associate's degrees. So we have split up into 2 associate's degrees. On one side, we have our system specialist, which is, again, building on these skills, but we're going to start concentrating on actually designing systems that connect all of these different things, PLCs, HMIs, and our robots, and connecting them together with conveyors and learning how to do things like that. As we move into, as you think about our maintenance and repair, we're learning a lot of the same skills, but we're really concentrating on how to fix and repair those that are already in systems. So we need to understand really how are all those systems working together, and the different things that can happen, and then fix those problems. From there, we stack into our Smart Industrial Automated Systems Engineering Technology degree, which again, that's where we're really going to continue to build on those skills. And we are going to really get into some more advanced technologies. We're going to start learning about vision systems, really get into some RFID as well as sensors, and really start getting into the industrial Internet of Things, AR, VR, digital twin, and really designing those systems. Both of our associate's degree and our Smart Industrial Automated Systems Engineering Technology degree include earn and learn opportunities that are embedded in the program. And what that means is this is a 4-credit class. It's a 1-credit class that the associate's degree actually has 2 of. Each of those classes is 300 hours of work experience, paid work experience. And the way that we do that is we schedule all of our classes on Tuesdays and Thursdays so that they can go to school full time, and then they can work part-time on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And this is a model that was built off of the train model, which is available on Ohio TechNet site. Some replication resources are available there as we did this as a group. Both of those associate's degrees has that, as well as our Smart Industrial degree will also have 2 more opportunities to do work-based learning. A lot of our students continue with their work-based learning, so that way they are continuing to work while they are going to school, so that when they are complete, they are debt-free and typically have a job waiting because they've been working for that company the whole time.
So as Amy we do have replication guides available for integrating Earn and Learn into a program like our automation pathways. Are there any questions before we move on? Okay, good deal. Thanks, Amy.
No problem.
I did want to show this. So we have a fairly recently hired curriculum developer who's really hit the ground running, putting together some very helpful visualizations of how these programs stack into each other. So this is an easy one. This is the Systems Specialist Associate's degree. As Amy mentioned, 100% stacks into the Smart BAS. So every credit that a student earns in that System Specialist program will articulate into the Smart Bachelor's program. The maintenance and repair program is not quite 100%. There are 3 additional courses in maintenance repair that do not transfer into the Smart BAS, as well as 4 courses that 4 additional courses they would need to take at the associate's level to complete or enter into the Smart BAS program. Again, these associate's degrees are serving slightly different purposes, but this is just a helpful visualization. I mean, it really helps me as I'm thinking about these programs, just to visualize how these programs lay over one another and how credits will transfer through. Did not realize that was animated. So the other big program that we have in automation and robotics, many of you have probably heard us speak about this, is our teacher training program. So we just, well, in August, I guess, wrapped up the 3rd cohort of instructors to go through this program. Teacher training is open to high school, career tech center, college, and university instructors. Obviously, we've been primarily serving Ohio institutions, but we have had instructors and participants from outside of Ohio complete the program as well. And this is just sort of a very simplified roadmap of what completing this program looks like. So through a combination of e-learning and in-person hands-on training, instructors earn FANUC and Rockwell, Allen Bradley industry recognized credentials. They complete a capstone course in person at Lorain County Community College, as well as an externship with a manufacturing employer local to them. So the idea being that these teachers go and they complete this externship, they can see what employers in their area are looking for. If they have a student who's going to graduate and go into manufacturing, what do they need to know? What skills do they need to have? So then as an educator, they can think about that and integrate it into what they offer in their own classroom. At the end of the program, the instructors come back to LCCC, they do an exam review, and then sit for their NOCTI FANUC certification exams. So at the end of the program, they are NOCTI certified. And then they're able to go back, as I said, into their own classrooms and teach these automation robotics concepts to their students. They can credential their students. The last 2 segments of the roadmap here are not required components of the program. But we have had a high school teacher just up the road from us in Amherst here in Lorain County audited the AETC 115 Intro to Robotics course this past fall. And then this spring, he's actually teaching that as a CCP course to his students at Amherst Steel High School. So I don't think we know the exact number of students, but at the end of the spring semester, his students will be earning credentials. They're also earning graduation seals towards their high school graduation. So auditing that AETC 115 to teach it as CCP or to replicate curriculum, if it's a college instructor, that's like the sort of the greatest extent that a teacher can get out of this program. But if they don't audit the course, they do have the certification and the ability to teach the FANUC and Allen Bradley credentials to their students after completing teacher training. Teachers earn CEUs from this program as well, in addition to the certifications. For us at Lorain, the next steps around teacher training, we are in the process of developing a much condensed multi-day workshop or boot camp model. that'll provide kind of the foundational knowledge and understanding of concepts to teachers who really have, no to very limited experience with automation and robotics technologies prior to enrolling in the full program. Some of the feedback we've heard from teachers who have gone through is, it would have been a little helpful if I'd known a bit more about this technology before launching into the program. It is a fairly intensive program. So we've been kind of in pilot stage. We're going through continuous improvement to improve the program and make it really accessible for a larger audience of educators. This is an example or kind of sample schedule for the level 1 program. We have offered level 2, so more advanced training for teachers who completed level 1 already. But basically from an orientation in December of a given year, from that orientation, teachers begin their e-learning towards FANUC and Rockwell or Allen Bradley credentials. And then they have a number of in-person trainings. So they do an intro to PLCs, programmable logic controls, immersion course that's held on campus at Lorain. They also visit both Rockwell and FANUC America for hands-on training at their facilities, which we've heard really, really positive feedback about having that integrated into the program. And then obviously, since our audience is educators, we cram most of this into the summer when they tend to have more time. So that's when a lot of those in-person trainings are held. And then the capstone course at Lorain, culminating with the NOCTI certification exams on campus again in August. So, that's an 8 to 9 month schedule, which, that I hope that helps contextualize why we're sort of considering, how might a boot camp or a workshop model fit into this. We are seeing really great results. We know that students are being certified by the teachers who completed this program. But again, it's really just making the program accessible and structuring it in a way that makes sense for more educators, and giving people a better on-ramp to teach these technologies and concepts in their classrooms. Any questions about teacher training before we move on?
Peter, this is Todd from Fastlane. Who's the core group that you've, I guess, piloted this with or had some success with to start off with, teacher-wise?
So it's really been a good mix of high school up through public university instructors. I don't have a sense off the top of my head of kind of what the percentage share would be. But I know we've had several university instructors from OSU and OU go through the program. OSU had like a dedicated cohort last year. We really do cast a broad net and do some really targeted outreach. So with Intel building their facilities, we've made targeted outreach to schools within, I think, like a 50-mile radius of where those facilities are going to be located, to schools that have automation programs there. I don't know, Amy, do you have any greater detail?
He mentioned a couple of the schools, Ohio State, OU. We have Washington State Community College, who was also endorsed by ARM. They built their program utilizing the teacher training, as well as Horizon Science Academy in Columbus. So yeah, we're really trying to help the high schools build their programs, as well as really keeping everything going into higher education so that we can continue to build that pipeline.
Okay, thank you. I'm really impressed with what you guys put together. This is great.
I'll also add, just because really the purpose of this conversation and the symposium next week is to be thinking about curriculum or program replication. Our program is grounded in FANUC and Rockwell because that's kind of the largest market share in our region. But what we would really like to see if this program is replicated elsewhere in the state. Obviously, not every part of the state, not every regional manufacturing economy is going to use the same vendors, the same equipment. So if you know that your regional employers or your local employers are using Festo or Yaskawa or Universal Robotics, it's the kind of program that you could make kind of vendor agnostic, or you could swap in those other credentials. Obviously, that involves, you know, close engagement with the industry. But so that's just to say that, you know, I don't want you to look at this and think, okay, well, that's great that they have this FANUC and Rockwell certification program, but that does me no good because that's not what my regional employers use. It's meant to be flexible and adaptable.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So moving on from curriculum, some of the replication opportunities that we see for these programs, and yeah, there will be a handful of us from Lorain down at St. Clair next week. So happy to kind of get into more detail about this. But one opportunity, you know, our Earn and Learn model has been really successful for us, and we'd love to see that applied more broadly throughout the state. So integrating Earn and Learn or other work-based learning, employer engagement models. Obviously, we all talk to our employer partners. We all have our networks, but just thinking about, you know, what sort of change might help, you know, program innovation, or you know, preparing our students better for employment after graduation. Partial adoption or modification of coursework to supplement learning outcomes, aligned to pathways or competency models. You know, we've talked a lot about the recently released OMA statewide manufacturing competency model. They just did a readout of the defense and aerospace sort of subgroup of that competency model, and we'll have more to share on that in the coming months. Embedding industry recognized credentials into coursework. This is an area that I know, you know, Stark State, for instance, has had a lot of success embedding credentials into coursework in different areas. And then, of course, automation robotic teacher training. You know, what sort of opportunities do you see for that at your institutions? Is it maybe not as a teacher training, but as train the trainer, or automation robotics, or maybe industry 4.0 more broadly for supervisors? You know, just thinking creatively about, you know, how that sort of program structure might help you serve your students and your employer partners. So just to rehash the details of the symposium, the symposium will be held next Friday, February 2nd at St. Clair Conference Center in Dayton. We encourage folks to attend that in person if at all possible. I know that it's pretty close at this point. So I think today, Meredith, correct me if I'm wrong, today is the last day to register for in-person attendance. So the sort of catering and logistics can be arranged. But there is a virtual option. So if you're not able to make the drive, please do consider attending virtually. So the symposium outcomes, we will do a bit more in-depth dive into these existing programs in automation robotics and digital thread at Lorain and St. Clair, respectively. You'll hear, I believe there's going to be a panel of industry and academic experts that St. Clair's put together, talking about the need for skilled workforce in digital transformation. And then there will be a series of workshops to help attendees craft a proposal and to think about how might I replicate this at my institution, what would be useful for my institution. With the ultimate goal of submitting that proposal to this project's lead team for additional funding on top of your existing subawards to actually make that replication happen. So this is the breakdown of available funding. Meredith went through this last week, so I won't get too into the weeds. But we'll be considering proposal up to $30,000. Again, really focused on program replication. So that's staffing, contract support, travel expenses. There's individual breakdowns here, and these slides can be shared out with the recording after this call. So you'll be able to go back and read up on this. But again, the idea of the symposium and of the workshops is that it will prepare attendees to submit those proposals for this supplemental funding. This is a sort of overview of the symposium schedule. I believe the official agenda was sent out with the registration confirmation or with the calendar invite. So that would go into more detail. But again, the meat of the symposium are those interactive workshops where you'll be guided through, considering what would my institutional goals be for program adoption, who are my target populations, what does program adaptation and development look like, what sort of timeline are we on, and then identifying key personnel to actually do the work, right? So it's very planning intensive. But again, the more detailed agenda, I believe, is out there. In terms of a timeline, what we're looking at, that symposium will be held next Friday, again, on the 2nd. Applications will be accepted starting on March 1st. They'll be accepted on a rolling basis, but for priority consideration, March 1st is the date that we're looking at. With contracts awarded, we're aiming for May 1st. So we are on a tight timeline here, but that's why we're holding these symposia in person to really support all of you as you're thinking about this and putting together your ideas and proposals. So that funding period would end at the end of May 2025. So just as a refresher, this grant period of performance, the initial 3 years is through August of 2025. So that's to give us time to really gather the information, gather the data, and make the case that this has been an effective use of grant funds. It's having an impact on the number of students, completing programs, earning credentials, and also, thinking about that 2 to 4 year transition pipeline for STEM and manufacturing students. So I'll go into this a bit more at the symposium next week, but so nobody feels caught off guard, there will be additional and more structured reporting and data gathering requirements for institutions that are awarded replication funding. So like I said, we'll get into a bit more detail about that next week. And then these are the contacts. Elizabeth and Meredith at Sinclair, along with Ryan, have really been doing the work of putting the symposium together. My colleague Courtney Tenover and I will be in person next week. So we look forward to seeing you there. We'll have a few other folks from Lorain as well. I think Joe's going. So really look forward to seeing some of you in person. We don't get enough opportunities to actually meet our partners in the flesh, and rather than through a computer screen. But between now and next Friday, of course, feel free to reach out with questions, ideas, whatever you may have. So I'm going to stop sharing. Are there any questions that I can answer, thoughts about, the program curricula or symposium?
Hey, Peter, I have a question about the symposium on February 2nd. Who do you think would be the best people to go to that? I brought a couple tickets, but I'm trying to figure out who do you think would be best served, or who should I bring?
So given the focus on program replication, it could be, I would say faculty. I know that that's hard for faculty with they are. If there are program directors or program managers, curriculum developers, folks on the programmatic side or on the workforce side as well. If you think that there's a place for maybe like a non-credit workforce option, adapting either of these curricula, that would be a good person to attend as well.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? Quiet crowd. All right. Well, I'm happy to wrap this up early. Again,
I do have one more question. Is it too, if I need to add more in-person tickets, is it too late? Just, it might be 1 or 2.
I think today.
Yeah.
I thought it was last night because I did it at like a quarter.
Oh, no. Yeah, no, you're okay. Today is the last day. On Monday, I have to let them know our final numbers. So
Okay.
if you want to add more today, you're more than welcome to.
And one last question. Do you know what time that it will be over about? Because I think people are trying to figure out if they're going to drive.
Right around 2 p.m. So that should allow people to drive back home at same day.
Okay. Thanks.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And you popped off, but if you want a schedule, I can email you a Word document of the schedule if you want to see what the day looks like too. And I think I added you also on the calendar invite already because you had bought the tickets. If you look on the calendar invite, there's a document that has the schedule for the day with the start and end times on it. Oh, you're muted.
I just saw it. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
All right, thanks.
Yeah, and just to repeat from last week, as a reminder for the subrecipient, educational institutions, this is a very good way to spend some of your subaward money. So travel, hotel, that kind of stuff, that's all reimbursable through your funding. All right, well, thanks again, everybody, and looking forward to see some of you next week. Have a great rest of your afternoon.
Take care. Thanks.